Hey everybody, I'm Matt and this is Camping and Coding. Today I want to talk about a new tool that is completely revolutionizing the way people think about their digital lives and how it can cause serious damage to yours if you're not careful with it. Now, I've worked in tech for almost 15 years, and even now as a developer at a big tech company, we're encouraged to use AI basically all the time, but this is on a completely different level. So what is OpenClaw? Well, it's an AI assistant that lives on your computer, and it just blew up out of nowhere, basically. It went from 0 to 180,000 GitHub stars in just a few weeks. It connects to everything on your computer, including your email, terminal, messaging apps. It can act on your behalf to do a whole bunch of different things, basically anything you can do on your computer. And all of this adds together to make it what security researchers from like Microsoft and Cisco and CrowdStrike and Malwarebytes are saying is basically a security nightmare. So let's talk about why that is. Well, as I mentioned, OpenClaw is an AI assistant that runs on your computer in the background all the time. It connects to all of these different resources on your computer. It can read and send emails for you. It can run commands from your terminal. It can run shell commands. It can read, write, edit your files. It can message you or other people through these different connections that you can set up with WhatsApp or Telegram or Slack. It can view your calendar, it can schedule appointments, cancel them, modify them, it can browse the internet for you, and it stores all of this information and the information that it's learned about you and how you want it to act and all of the context of the different conversations in its own persistent memory. So why do people love it? Well, it's free, first of all, sort of. It's open source, which means that anyone can view the code, and presumably that should make it more secure and more fair, and it runs locally on your computer. Again, kind of. The caveats with free and runs locally are that if you want it to be free, you have to use lower grade AI models, and if you want it to run locally, you have to run those AI models on your computer. And honestly, unless you have some really good hardware, that probably won't work as well as you're expecting it to when you see these videos of people making millions of dollars using OpenClaw. So it is cool though. I mean, despite all of that, there's a certain like wow factor to it. I mean, just imagine that you woke up to a Slack message from your robot assistant who says, "Hey, I noticed your computer was almost full, and so I cleaned things up for you." It sounds amazing, and that's because it is. But it's also scary. There's really 5 major areas that can cause huge problems with OpenClaw, and let's talk about each of them in a little bit of detail. First of all, it has full access to everything on your computer. Now, you grant it this access. It doesn't just come with it built in, but if you want it to act the way that you're expecting it to on your behalf, then you have to grant it access to these things. So it has to be able to access your email if you want it to help read your emails and respond to the annoying ones. It can't do that unless you give it access. So most people are more than willing to give it access to all of these things. And like I mentioned, cybersecurity professionals and one professor at Northeastern called this, quote, a privacy nightmare. And that's just because it has access to everything on your computer. And for the most part, we all store everything on our computer. And you also have really limited visibility into what it's actually doing. It tells you, hey, I did X, Y, and Z. I sent these messages for you. But a lot of that can get lost in the context. And what it's really doing behind the scenes isn't always transparent to you as the user. It kind of only surfaces what it thinks is important to you. And that may not be all of the information that really matters to you. Next, there's something called prompt injection, which is basically a way of attacking your system. So this is a bad guy sends an email to the email that OpenClaw has access to, and the email contains instructions for OpenClaw on your computer to act badly. This has happened. This isn't just some theoretical use case for bad guys. This is something that's actually happened to, and it's caused people to lose their credentials. It's given access to attackers, to different computers, to different resources that they shouldn't have had access to. This is a huge problem. Third is malicious skills. Skills are documents that you write that teach the AI agent how to do something really specific. So you might write a skill explaining to the AI how it should interact with your bank account or whatever if you gave it access to your bank account. ClawHub is essentially an app store for these skills. So you can go to ClawHub and download a bunch of skills that other people have made. The problem is it's all open source. Anyone can contribute to it. And bad actors have contributed malicious skills to ClawHub that people have downloaded that is basically injecting privileged code into your computer. This is a huge problem because if you aren't reading these skills carefully, you don't know what somebody else is telling your OpenClaw to do on your behalf. Next, we have exposed instances of OpenClaw. So more than 40,000 OpenClaw instances were found publicly accessible online, and many of them were running unencrypted, and some had super weak or no authentication at all. And attackers were able to just access the system, issue commands from the OpenClaw on your computer, and do whatever they wanted. Next, we have leaked credentials, which is truly a problem across the board when it comes to software development. Anything that uses an API, for example, if you're exposing your API keys in your code, that's not just an OpenClaw problem. But OpenClaw is designed and learns to do things quickly and try to accomplish tasks, and sometimes that involves taking the path of least resistance, which can be just sending your API keys in plain text to the server, or sharing your credentials because it needs to access a website with your username and password. And if your instance is compromised, if your OpenClaw is compromised, then everything that you're connected to with these credentials and API keys is also compromised. But what if you do still want to use it? It's super cool, so what if you still want to have fun with it? Well, first of all, isolate it. You could run it in a Docker container. You could run it on a virtual machine. You could, in the best case, run it on an air-gapped small computer like a Mac Mini or something running a version of Unix, but you should never run it on your main computer. Never install it on your laptop that you use for everything else, because then it has access to everything on your laptop. Next, you should run it on localhost only, and that means don't expose it to the internet. Now, of course, if you do this, you're going to lose some of the cool functionality that everybody talks about. And you see all the videos on Instagram about all these people who made thousands of dollars in a single day by connecting OpenClaw to the internet. Of course, you're going to lose that if you only have it pointed locally. Next, don't use any credentials on OpenClaw that you use anywhere else. Don't connect your real email. Don't connect your actual API keys that you're using in production on real systems. Make OpenClaw versions of everything and only use those for OpenClaw. Next, if you're installing skills from ClawHub or GitHub or anywhere else, vet them. You need to understand what the skill is actually telling your OpenClaw to do for you. Next, stay updated. This is true with all software. It's especially true here. Because this was developed so fast, they're pumping out updates constantly to try to fix some of these security gaps. So make sure you're staying up to date with OpenClaw and what the developers are putting out. Finally, just don't put anything sensitive on there. It shouldn't have any access to any of your real sensitive information. This is really hard because we live in a totally connected world, but it's very important not to give it access to your real sensitive information, financial data, passwords, anything proprietary that you might have. Don't give it access. In summary, OpenClaw is super cool. It was developed really, really fast, and it has blown up for understandable reasons. But unfortunately, it lacks some of the security safeguards that we would like to see in something that has this level of access to people's information. Even OpenClaw's own documentation says, quote, "There is no perfectly secure setup." So this is something to keep in mind. If you're running it in a sandbox with no real accounts, that's okay. That's pretty safe. On a dedicated computer, it would be even safer. Not connected to the internet is the safest. But of course, like I said, you're going to lose some of the cool tools if you do that. Next, if it's connected to your email or your calendar, you're starting to enter some risky territory. And you may want to second guess giving it access to any of those real resources that can impact your life. Finally, just don't give it full access to your real personal computer that you're using for things. Don't give it access to your terminal, your files, your messaging apps. This is really dangerous, and it's just not smart to do with OpenClaw. If you want to go check it out, do it. Just be safe, and I hope this helped. Thanks.